Early access games are a double-edged sword, aren't they? On one end, you have to be understanding that the game it's being developed in real time. So it's not going to have all of the mechanics in place. Like for the most part, when you see a game that's in early access, you see their vision. You go, okay, I know where they're going with this, but they haven't got there yet. They're still missing key components of a video game. But it's a double-edged sword because you have to be understanding, but at the same time, you do have to be critical, right? Because the purpose of, well, at least to my knowledge, I know there's plenty of reasons why games are in early access, but to my knowledge, the main reason a game is in early access is for the game could be developed alongside with the player, its target audience, or just anybody who's interested in the game, right? Like we're developing the game together. And as the years roll by, the fine tuning of the players and the receptiveness of the the developers into taking whatever the players say into account. It's like a symbiotic relationship. Did I say that right? Symbiotic relationship? I don't know, sounds smart. But it's a relationship that it was mutually beneficial. So I get it, that was just a really long-winded way of me saying, okay, I understand your game is early access, but I also am not happy with what I see. Like that's a fine line to dance, right? I would say that most people, I want to believe in my heart that most people are accepting of the fact that the game is early access and they're more forgiving. That's more of the word I should be using. That's a key word here, forgiving. They go, okay, look, I bought this game for X amount of dollars. And price is another point, right? Price is another point where it's just like, this game is way too fucking high. The price tag is way too high for um it to be in early access or whatever. I've seen games like that where I'm like, they're demanding too much money for this game. It's not even halfway cooked. So it is a double-edged sword. You got to find that balance of like, I want to be critical, but at the same time, I have to be understanding. Uh, Incursion Red River. I'm gonna fuck this name up a lot. I usually reverse it. I call it Red River Incursion. Whatever you hear out of my mouth, just know that I'm retarded. This is one of those games where it, I struggle. Like, okay, for the most part, I'm more forgiving than people generally. So I will say that, all right? Full disclosure, I am way more forgiving than the average person. I find myself in situations sometimes. Now, I'm not a pushover. There's a difference. Just because I'm forgiven doesn't mean that you can just take advantage of me. That's not what I'm saying. I can be assertive if I have to be, you know. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it's kind of hard for me specifically to rate games nowadays or games that generally the audience or people are more critical of. It's hard for me personally, to rate these games because I'm more forgiving. I'm willing to overlook glitches. I'm willing to overlook artifacts on the screen. I'm willing to look over shitty FPS, lag, like glitches, bugs. Like I'm willing to overlook a lot of this if the game has crazy potential and if the game is good. Even random crashes, you know, I'm willing to overlook that. But I feel like in today's climate, gamers particularly, I'm not even going to speak about other demographics, right? Political demographics or uh, other medias, other realms of media like TV or show. I feel like we'll talk about that another time, but with video gamers are some of the most harshest critics. And it's very easy to be harsh. It's very easy to be disrespectful. It's very easy to be extremely critical when you're sitting behind a keyboard and you're anonymous. You know that there's going to be no repercussions. Aside from a little tongue lashing, or should I say a keyboard lashing that another fellow anonymous person will give you, you are relatively safe. You can say the most highly disrespectful, crazy, distasteful shit, unconstructive, first of all. Like you're in a, especially if you're commenting on an early access game, right? You want to be as constructive as possible to help the game out, but there's lots of comments that I've read that are unconstructive. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like if you're going to write a review, you got to be specific. You can't just write bad game. Like you got, come on. So anyways, video gamers are one of the most, if not the most harshest, most critical demographics out there, at least in my experience. So, and once again, I believe that that's because of no repercussions, but it's very easy to not to just say what you feel, even if like what you're feeling is not worded correctly. Like you may play a game and not like it, right? And instead of going like this fucking game sucks, it's trash, like that's like, damn, do you really feel like that? Or is this just something that you're saying to elicit a response from other people to like kind of to dogpile? Like, oh, I want all the other miserable people to, I'm sending out the signal to all these miserable people. Come and dogpile on this game. We're all miserable. Like, because I feel like an average person who lives a pretty good life, I feel like they're not online all the time being that harsh and that disrespectful towards people. That's what I want to believe that. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't played too much of Red River Incursion. 65 minutes to be exact. I did an entire raid. I actually, the first raid I've ever done, I succeeded. I got shot a few times, and that's also something I want to talk about, but if I remember, but I will say that what I mostly want to talk about is the quality of the game. Is the meat there? Yes. Is the vision there? Yes. Is it playable? Yes. I believe that I might be missing something, but those three things that I just named, those are the things that make me want to buy an early access game, right? Like it's the meat there. Can I see the vision? Is it clear? Are the main mechanics working? Even if they're not working properly, are they working? The rest is just bells and whistles to me. Like like aesthetic designs. Those are all bells and whistles. Like, of course, you want to improve on mechanics. Like, for example, Incursion Red River. We got to shorten that name up, first of all. Well, I mean, not them, but me. Like, I can't keep saying it, but I will keep saying it. So, Incursion Red River, there's they're going to add more to like the health system because right now, to my knowledge, it's just some bars. The last time I played, at least, but there was an update that happened overnight. I don't know if they changed that or anything, but it's very simple HUD, and they're saying that they're going to get more in depth with the health system, I guess akin to like Tarkov, which that's another thing I want to talk about. Hopefully, I'll remember that too. So, the meat of this game, if you want to play a game and you want to go on a raid with your friends and you want to collect some loot and you want this to be like a Tarkov light, this is your game. And I emphasis on light. Like Tarkov light. This is nothing like Tarkov in the scope of quality, in the scope of depth, in the scope of just years of maturity, right? Like Tarkov has been around what, like 7 years, maybe even more, I believe. 6, 7 years, something like that. So obviously it's had more time to bake than Incursion Red River, right? So it's not fair to compare, although I see that too much. As a matter of fact, some people have wrote negative comments on Incursion because they've been told that this was the quote unquote Tarkov killer that they heard from some random YouTuber, and then when they played it, they realized it wasn't because it's an early access title. And they said, oh, well, this isn't the Tarkov killer that I expected. You get a negative review for that. Does that make any sense to you? They heard that this game, Incursion, was a Tarkov killer from some fucking random YouTuber or some weird obscure post or site where they post, or maybe even Reddit. They took that information, that opinion, they ran with it. They came in with that opinion that some person told them, right? They didn't like the game and they didn't meet the expectations, and then they get, nah, this game, negative review. Like off of someone else's opinion. That's not even fair. That's not even fair. If you're coming into Incursion already comparing it to a game that's well established like Tarkov, you're gonna be sorely disappointed. It's an early access title. Now, you can say that Tarkov itself is an early access title. Okay, fine, but we're splitting hairs here. Tarkov still had like 7 years to bake. Incursion, this is what, a month? Not even, if I'm not mistaken. I think it came out maybe 2 weeks ago, if that. So it's like it's gonna get there. And if you're on the team of oh, I'm sick and tired of these early access games saying, or people who play early access games going like, there's potential. This game has, it's a good foundation here. I do hear that a lot. And yes, it gets repeated ad nauseum. I'll admit that. And I'm one of those people too who say that, right? But it is true, right? And here we go. Brace yourself. Put your seatbelt on. Incursion Red River has potential. It has a foundation. It really does. I'm not just regurgitating what other people usually say about the average early access game. This game really does. Like you can see graphically, it's got this weird I don't know what it is. Like it looks good. Looks good enough, but it for in my screen at least and in my experience, it reminds me a lot of like Dead Side. If anyone's ever played that game, it's like this man, I'm gonna butcher this. I don't know if it's called tessellation, but it's this weird, almost filterish look that the game has, I guess, to make it run better. I guess the systems run, it feels more, it runs more optimized because they use this particular graphical style. I don't know if they're using some sort of like FSR or what is it, DLS? Like what is that called again? Some sort of God damn it. Well, anyways, it's some sort of I knew I used to know the name to this. It's some sort of a graphical setting that and it can enable games to run much better at uh and it looks better. Basically, it optimizes it at the less. It makes your computer work less. Your GPU and your CPU. That's sorry, I was brain farting there for a second. So Incursion has these graphics that I'm not too crazy about. Like it looks good. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing really wrong with the graphics. I have seen some artifacts. I think that's what you call it. I may be fucking that word up, but I have seen some not glitches, but like some textures on on certain floors and buildings that they look a little off. And I'm like, okay, once again, I attribute that to the game being early access, and I hope that I don't know if it's just one developer or a group of developers, but I hope the developers, that's what we'll just call them from this point on. I hope that they focus on that too. A lot of texture details, a lot of, because it is a little immersion breaking, right? Because you're playing this realistic shooter where, you can die with just a few hits and, you're seeing these weird looking textures on the walls and all that. It sounds like I'm nitpicking, but if you play the game, you'll see what I'm talking about. It kind of goes like, it doesn't look necessarily too realistic. But, so graphic wise it looks good, gunplay feels good, feels pretty semi-realistic. They're aiming for realistic slash arcadey, but it doesn't come off arcadey at all. It comes off a lot more realistic, so I guess they're using a real like a ballistic system and stuff like that. And you can tell because it is a little difficult to shoot players, and that's that once again that's a skill issue more than a game issue. Like, I'm using iron sights on a like AK, and I'm shooting motherfuckers from 400 yards away or something like that, and it's a little tough. But like I said, skill issue. You'll get better, and once you get scopes and stuff like that, you'll get even more better. But it's fun. I see it's basically like everyone has described the game. It's got shades of Tarkov, but it is not Tarkov. So I do wish that if anyone's hearing this, they do come into this game thinking like, okay, this isn't Tarkov. This is something like Tarkov, but it is not. It's not fleshed out as Tarkov. It has not more time to bake like Tarkov. Gameplay mechanics aren't like Tarkov, even though they're similar. They're not the same thing. Don't go in here comparing it to a good established game. This game is all right. I would give it right now at its current state. I would give it a good, and I only played it for an hour, so this is a premature rating, but I'm gonna say like 6.5, 7 tops. 6.5, 7 tops. Maybe as I play it now with like they just updated the game. It was a small update, like patch notes. Yesterday. I believe it was yesterday at least, and maybe it's running better now. Like I said, I only played the game for 65 minutes. Only did one raid. I enjoyed it, although I did see a lot of lagging. I did see a lot of texture issues. Optimization isn't great. My FPS was kind of all over the place. And I had it on high. I didn't even have it on ultra. So I don't know. Maybe if I put it on medium for the time being, maybe it'll run better. I'm not sure. I do plan to play it again, but right now I'm just letting it bake a little bit longer before I do. I want to see more optimizations before I jump back in. But I don't regret the purchase at all. I like it. I think the price I think initially is like $15 or something like that. So that's ridiculously cheap for what you're getting. And like some other people have pointed out, sorry if I keep sniffling, my nose is stuffy. I hope I'm not getting sick. I don't know what's going on. So as some people have pointed out, you pay $15 and it can be an offline game. You can play this game offline. So you'll have this game forever if that's a thing that interests you. I would love to see mod support in the future. That would be fucking cool. Some really cool things is gonna happen, are going to happen if modders get their hands on this. But overall, man, I'm gonna say what I think it is, even though it sounds kind of derogatory, sounds like I'm bashing it, but I'm not. I'm being as brutally honest as I can. It's a generic extraction shooter right now, meaning that there is nothing super exciting about it, but then again, there's nothing terrible about it. You play it maybe an hour or two, maybe three. I'm sure you play it much longer if you've had, friends that you can actually jump in with and play. I'm sure the gameplay would be a lot more fun. But as of right now, it's pretty generic, you know. But I have faith in it. I do, and I don't say that a lot about a lot of games because I do feel like from the roadmap that I see, he wants to add another map, and he also wants to, make the health system more extensive as well as other things. I should have left that on top. There's always a I should have when I record these. Um, Damn, disk space recording remaining for recording 126 hours. Jesus. So yeah, like right now, if you've had friends, I'm sure you can extend the early access gameplay of Incursion. But like if you like me, you play solo most of the time, occasionally with friends. Um, you're gonna find it hard to want to replay it because it's still pretty rough. It's playable. Don't get me. I didn't get any crashes or anything like that. Although I'm pretty sure I think some people said that they have. My biggest gripes with the game is that it's generic, and that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, if it stays generic as the months go by, then yeah, it's a bad thing. But I feel like it's generic now at this moment in time. But I do have faith in the game. I feel like it will get better. But that's not a bad complaint, right? If you think about it, I could say that the game is barely playable. It does not run well. The shooting mechanics are terrible. The music is non-existent, or I don't even know if there's music. I didn't pay that much attention to it. Once again, I only played it for a bit. The game is literally unplayable. Like that would be terrible things to say about the game, but they're honest. And also, that you're off to a rough start. Incursion is not off to a rough start. It's off to a pretty, and once again, this goes back to the word foundation. It does have a good foundation. It's a solid foundation. Now just build, keep working on it. Um, Good stuff. There's more extraction shooters out there. Like there's a new one coming out, Gray Zone Warfare, I believe that's what it's called. It's a weird title. Gray Zone. I guess that's the military jargon. I should probably know that since I've been like playing Arma 3 like a raving lunatic. I've got like how many hours I got on Arma? I got 162 hours. 161.9 hours as of April of 2024. But I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of times I left the launcher on all day without knowing. So in reality, out of that 162 hours of Arma 3, I probably genuinely played maybe 100 of them, maybe a good 100 hours, 110 hours. But either way you put it, those are big numbers for me. Someone who doesn't spend, thousands of hours in a game. I've never dropped a thousand hours on any video game I've ever played in my life. I wouldn't mind, and I can see how some people do. Like I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, oh, these guys are losers. They're dropping two, three, 400,000 hours in games. No, I mean like I got it. Like I said, I know someone who plays Dota, and they've been playing Dota for fucking like 8, 9 years or something like that, or however long Dota 2 has been out. And they play for sessions. They'll play 2, 3 sessions a day and then not play the rest of the day. Then the next day, 2, 3 sessions. And they just kept that routine up for many years. And, that's how you chart, I log in thousands of hours. So when I see thousands of hours, I don't necessarily always think like, oh, this person needs to go touch grass. They're a loser. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. But other times I'm like, nah, this person just really loves this game, and I'm hoping that this person has like a life outside this game because obviously it's not that healthy to log in that many hours and not have some sort of social circle or a girlfriend or a hobby or you're not working out or whatever the case may be. But this is shit I don't have to tell you. You know this already, right? We all have a game we're sweaty for. Right now I'm sweaty for Arma. Some of that sweaty military action. I told you I've been on a kick. Told you guys I've been on a kick with military shooters and all that. Hence how I heard about Incursion and other games. I've been leaning towards the realism, and this is something that I was speaking to an old coworker, a friend about yesterday. I was he we were talking about the new Star Wars game that's coming out, Star Wars Outlaws or Outworld, or I don't know what's it called, but it's got like a girl and it's some sort of a weird. I'm not into Star Wars at all, so I have no idea what's going on. He is, and he was telling me that like I was telling him that I'm a little weary because Ubisoft is making a game and Ubisoft does have a track record of making mediocre games. That's just the truth. And I played shit. I can't tell you how many Ubisoft games I played. Far Cry 4, Far Cry 5, Far Cry 6, Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, The Division 1, The Division 2. Like I played a lot of Ubisoft games and I'm sure there's games that I left out that Ubisoft has made. Um so I don't know what it is, and I don't mean this as a knock. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Ubisoft just has a strange. They're oddly consistent with making mediocre games. Like they're very good at it. Like we're gonna make an average game, a painfully average game that's bloated with like not great side quests and just a lot of running around and like radiant quests that are ass. And I'm sorry that I feel bad saying that, but it's the brutal truth. That's at least that's been you know, my experience with Ubisoft games. Anyways, as usual, I'm derailing. I'm going somewhere else. We were just talking about how, he's just tired of all this weird sexual and racial propaganda that's being pushed into video games and how the quality is suffering from it and how people have stopped watching Star Wars or Star Trek for that matter because of all the crazy decisions that they've made, a lot of them not good. And I was just like, you know what? I think that's what's making me retreat more deeply into realistic games. They just happen to be military shooters. But to be honest with you, if you get rid of the military theme from Arma, I wouldn't care. I know lots of people would because obviously games like Arma and games like Call of Duty and games like Squad, you know, games like Hell Let Loose, like these games all have a large military personnel following. There's actual military people who play this. So they would be upset, obviously, if all the military aspects of these games were to disappear. But for me, I don't care. I don't really care about the military aspects. I think it's cool, the jargon and all that. Like, yeah, okay, I don't use it. I'm very casual when I play. But what I'm trying to say is that like he may think, or I think he thinks that he can't get past the fact that these games are military games. And I'm like, I got past that fact. Like to me, that's just a small aspect of the game. I'm craving realism. I'm craving no bullshit propaganda being pushed at me. I don't care about this character's race. I don't care about this character's sex. All I want is a good fucking game, right? And I'm gravitating. I'm sinking into these extraction shooters and these military simulators because there is none of that bullshit. Like there is politics in Arma if you play the main story mode, and they're pretty good actually. Some people feel like the storyline is forgettable. I like it. I personally like it. But whatever. Point is, there are politics and all that involved in Arma, even if they're fictional. But what I'm saying is, for me, the vast majority of the time when I play Arma, I'm playing like, DUWS. I'm playing Recon Ops. I'm playing, they don't, it's no, just small objectives. I'm not worrying about the main story. I just want to jump in, shoot shit, blow shit up, log back out. So what I'm saying is, the current climate for video games doesn't feel good and it's making me retreat into realism. I crave realism. I crave just people being honest and not pushing anything down my throat. Nobody's gender, nobody's religious views, none of that. I don't want to hear any of that shit. I just want to go into a video game with someone, whoever the fuck you identify as. I don't give a shit. You want to play Arma? Ma'am, they, she, hey. I may not agree with a lot of this shit, but do you want to play Arma? That's how I feel. I don't jump on my mic and start talking about how you feel people should be acknowledge your pronouns and all. Let's just play Arma, man. And I feel like that's where I'm retreating to. Like I'm retreating to this like I don't I'm just I want nothing to do with what's going on right now. A lot of it frustrates me and I just want to shoot shit. I hope there's people out there that can sympathize with that. And if you're one of those people who are like, yeah, I want to shoot shit, and I go, all right, cool, and they go, yeah, I want to shoot shit in Armor too. Don't be a psycho. Good stuff. Incursion, Red River. If you're thinking about, if you like extraction shooters and you have patience and you believe that things will get better, pick it up. It's dirt cheap. You know what I mean? If you got a couple dollars lying around, what's it going by now? Let me check real quick before I get out of here and stop wasting you guys' time. Store page. All right, it is currently $700. No, I'm joking. It's 13.59 right now. Come on, man. $13.59 for a pretty good game. Well, generic right now, but still highly playable if you have friends. I can see people dropping by highly, I mean, 30, 40 hours maybe, for a generic game. Those are high numbers, man. What I'm saying is if you have friends, I'm sure you can drop probably even more than 30, 40 hours. As a matter of fact, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. It's going to take too long. I was going to check some reviews to see what's the longest someone has played this game. But yeah, 13, what is it? 13.59, man. After taxes, roughly 14 bucks maybe. And if you live in Delaware, God bless you. You don't have to pay taxes, but that's not bad, man. Like I've paid more for dinner. So it's like you'll have a game in your library forever. A game that's getting updated, so it will be better. I know that if I was I have so much faith in this game, and maybe I'm fucking crazy. And if I eat my words, then I eat my words. I will be the first one to tell you before you hear from anyone else. Not like you are. No one knows who the fuck I am. But um I'll be the first one to tell you that I fucked up by believing in Incursion if they just abandon the game or if they just make a bunch of shitty decisions to make the game less playable. I'll be the first one to tell you I fucked up. But I do have faith in this game, and I do feel like 2 months from now, 3 months from now, whatever the time may be, this game is not going to be generic anymore. It's going to be good. I do believe that. And I do like the fact that it's single. You can play it single player. You play against bots or AI or whatever. The AI is pretty responsive, but AI, you know how AI can be, responsive sometimes, brain dead the next. That's AI, man. It's a difficult thing to program, but once again, I'm more forgiving than the average person, so who knows, man. All right, what we got here? I know I didn't describe the game that much because I like to fucking rant on other things other than the actual game that I'm speaking about, but I wish I can say anything that stands out about this game, and I can't. And some people may view that as a bad thing, but it's kind of not, man. It plays it safe right now. It's got the meat. Just needs to cook a little longer. That's all, man. I mean, gunplay feels pretty good. Graphics are all right. Movement is fine. Like there's no glaring holes in this game. There's nothing that I can tell you aside from those graphical glitches and the FPS being a little loopy. There's nothing that's glaring. There's nothing in this game that I can say, "Oh shit, this is not good. They really need to fix this particular thing." But everybody's experience is different, right? Because everybody has different rigs, different, older GPUs, newer GPUs, whatever the case may be. So everyone's, you know, experiences will vary. But nothing bad to report. Enjoy the game. Definitely looking forward to its future. And you know, what'd be crazy? I know Tarkov has like there's a mod for Tarkov called Single Player Tarkov. I don't even own Tarkov. I will one day though. Next time it's on sale, I'm gonna fucking buy it. But some people are just like, just play single player Tarkov, and maybe they're right. I mean, if you want a better time, yeah, play single player Tarkov for sure. Um, but for $13, $14, and the promise of this game being better in the future, why not have it sit in your library until things get better? You know, you never know, man. You forget about it after a few months, come back and go like, "Oh shit, this game looks cool." I've had that happen with a few games. But if you don't want to buy it, I mean, I don't fucking work for them. I'm not getting paid for any of this. I'm not a sponsor, or I'm not sponsored. Don't buy it if you don't want to buy it, obviously. But I would urge you to. If you were to ask me, should I buy it? I go, yeah, absolutely. 13, $14. It's gonna get better as time. It's good now. It's good enough to play at least, and it's gonna get better. So it's like, why not? That seems like a safe investment to me. You know, I don't know. See you guys later. Hopefully, much sooner than later. I'm trying to pump out at least 4 of these bitches. These podcasts is at least a month, but I'm not a deadline guy, so we'll see. Be safe. See ya.